Alright, fair warning, if you hear child laughter in the background, there's a party going on across the street. My neighbors are having their families over, so that's pretty cool. And they're cool people. But as of right now, it's pretty cloudy outside. I cannot see a star, so it's, assume it's going to rain soon. But anyways, today's subject, we're going to talk about glitches in video games, or rather, you know, problems video games face when they're not tested enough, or maybe something goes inaccessible for a while, and then, you know, they release a patch, and then, you know, from there we pretty much can fix the game. So again, you know, certain games, I mean, I can understand that, you know, in this day and age, people want to release games like on a release day and then just patch it later, because that way it's easier for them to find glitches when people, you know, I mean, I can understand that, but what I'm saying, though, is, you know, people should really test their products before they release them, because if it's done intentionally, it might actually backfire even worse than people might think, and it might actually be good. But at the same time, though, it's like, you know, if you know there's a problem with your game, shouldn't it already be obvious, like, how to fix it then? You know? If that makes sense. So, like, again, you know, patches and DLC and, you know, I mean, it just, you know, people don't need to charge more money for something that should have been in the game to begin with, or intentionally. Like, because again, you know, this might be a little confusing, but again, you know, this is true. You know, you see this happening in a strange way. Like, I swear, like, you know, someone had a business, figured the loophole in this one out. But, you know, like, you know, content that's purposely unfinished, and then it was actually extracted for DLC, kind of explains why they tried to sell it, so that way people would buy it instead of just download it for free. I know it kind of sounds stupid, because it's like, so like, you heard me right. You know, there are games out there that, you know, they were intentionally unfinished, so that way the game designers could be encouraged to take the rest of that content and try and sell it, instead of just patching it and then just releasing it as a free update. You have to, it's strange, it really is. Because very rarely does it happen that you constantly work on a project and you forget to patch like a certain area. For you know, I mean, it can happen, yes, but it's usually done on purpose instead of accident. But it's strange, it really is. Also, it's you know, glitches, and you know, they might actually be caused because of like maybe computer issues, like rendering issues, or what's another one that some people have had issues with, was maybe just somebody wasn't coding it properly. Maybe they might have made a mistake with one of the binary, you know, files, or all the other hex editing and all that. You know, all the other coding programming. Somebody might have made a mistake with one of the lines, because I can't remember off the top of my head what all the terms are called, but, you know, just essentially they screwed up the behavior and the what's the other word, coding. You got behavior, and you have the text, or the hex, whatever it goes by. So the easiest way to fix that would be just to, you know, play test it, you know, and that way you don't, or if you have to hire somebody to do it, you know, say, hey, can you know, like, take a survey, you know, do some research with it, and, you know, ask everybody else to submit their findings if you ask them to. You know, you could have people test a bunch of stuff out, and you can essentially, you don't have to pay anybody. You can just ask people to play your games and see how many glitches they can find. This is what I would do, you know. If there's like a really lengthy game out there, you know, I mean, there's people who do this. Indie games do this, but I mean, more people should do this. You know, like, if game devs are going to release a game and they're not really sure, like, if the game's fully updated, they kind of should do what Steam does, like, you know, where it's like early access, or, you know, like, where, you know, the game's released and then people can play it, kind of get an idea. You know, like something like that, but something that's not like, it's not shit, though, if you know what I mean. You know, like, somebody, like, again, you know, let people download it, let people play it, and let people ask, but if people would make a really good product, say, hey, what do you guys think about this, and what would you recommend, how would you change this if you could, and look at the product, and they'd probably, again, because if you give other people ideas, people will be glad, and you're kind enough to do that for them, they'll probably be kind enough to give you their own ideas, because they're thinking it's worth their time. I mean, that's how I'd do it. If I was making a game, especially by myself, I'd ask a bunch of people. I'd say, hey, what do you guys think about this project so far, and what would you change about it? The whole thing, or just certain parts of it? It's interesting. You can run into a lot of issues with programming, and it seems like, not just the issues at hand, but it just seems like the programming, if done accidental, can actually go unnoticed for a while, and then people are like, they play this game and they find these glitches with the final product. And so in this day and age, people should be able to release patches, and again, the patch, when you download a patch for something, the reason why some patches are they're big updates for the game, it depends on how much. It depends on specifically what they're changing. If you're downloading a patch for a game that all the data on the patch alone, whatever file size it is, they can vary. It could be text they just changed, and then how much text they changed. It could be like maybe they downgraded the music, maybe they changed the music, maybe they changed like some of the models. They added more content, but again, that'd probably be DLC, and it wouldn't be free, chances are. But you know what I mean? Like when you get a patch for a game, it's just they updated stuff. But whatever you have on that patches file, it's not like the whole game. It's just whatever they changed and whatever the total file size that is. So when people say, oh, some of these files are too big, and well. And then game designers really should, I guess that goes to show you that logically, these game designers really should, play test their stuff more before they release it. So that way, if they do have to go patch stuff, it's not all this stuff. It's not, it'd be just a few things, and that's fine. So that is a good idea. So glitches in games can, for the most part, just interfere with other progression, and there's been some game-breaking glitches in some games, at least not until somebody was able to find a way to change their save file, warp out of and believe it or not, you'd actually be right. You'd be surprised that there's many ways that you can change your save files. It's actually not that bad, but you'd be surprised that you could change your save files. You can change everything. You just have to know where to look. All right, so like I was saying, but some of these games, you can run into some unnecessary issues because people overlook stuff, or maybe they intentionally do it. Because again, unless somebody takes it seriously and decides to fix it, you're essentially just, leaving it as it is. So, patches can be a problem if they're not tested right. But again, it should be there's no excuse. Like if somebody wants to release a game, that product should very well be sort of finished, or it should be tested enough. And if they have to change certain things, it should, they should make sure that it's going to be, they're not going to overlook stuff, So again, so the game should be finished to a degree, and at the same time, though, it should also be very well received, because if people are going to have problems with, let's say, a project in the future, you're looking at something that could have been finished. Again, or better yet, think of it like this. When you look at a project and you buy it, you're buying a copy of something that somebody put as much effort as they did into it. So if there's going to be patches later on for it, well, it just really depends on how long it's going to take them before they finally finish it. So again, there are some games that the game designers won't release any patches for it, but it'll be done. It'll be like it should be. Or maybe they'll just remake it later on. They'll re-release it as another game, which, I know Namco does that. They'll release like a Tales game, but maybe but I don't know. Like, it just seems like they released the way Namco does it, and I think Nipponichi does it too with Disgaea. Even though their games are still really good, some people have said that they'll release a game, they'll release all this DLC for it, but then it's like you could just wait for them to remake it years later, and then just buy all the DLC. You'll get all the DLC on the handheld version or something like that. So it's interesting. It really is. You just got to figure out a company strategy and figure out like what you're buying, what you get in exchange for it, or what versions have what over what other ones. And really think about like, are they going to make any more of them? That's kind of like, that's how the industry goes. But there's some really good games out there, let me tell you. So again, patches should be taken care of immediately if they have to be. And glitches that can ruin certain games, like game-breaking saves or glitches that prevent you from, like, because of certain things, people should really fix those immediately. Otherwise, people won't be able to have this issue. So again, if people, maybe people don't have to download like the whole. See, this is the mistake that people make when they release patches, for example. Some people think that, it's possible that you could save the game, and then like the whole game is like you have to re-download the whole game again. But that's not how that should work. Like, if you download a patch for a game, it should only be what that data is for the patch, and then just apply it to the game, or put it in. That's how it should work. If you want to go all digital, but again, that's a whole other story because the way the digital system works, it seems like if you get you can lose all your games you downloaded if they cut support for it or whatever, because again, it's like you have to, that's why people, when they stream it, it's not always, it's not really as easy as you might think it is, especially when, the alternative is technically, if you already own the game, you could go on the internet, download it, and you can play it on your computer, and you don't have to buy like a subscription fee for it. You can just play it legally. It's fair, it's legal to do that. Again, like I said about like DRM and piracy, what people get wrong about it and what's really illegal and what's not about it. You know what I mean? But now you see why people disagree with it, though. Not like because you're not going to steal from the game designers, but game designers make some bad decisions. And again, why would you why pay for something you already have? So like, what I mean? So. That's the way I'm looking at it, though. I truly feel that, if you already bought something and you're going to buy it again, well, I guess it really depends on who's asking. But it's like if you already own it, though, and there's other alternatives out there, that are, again, legal, then it's like, well, technically, why would... Because some of these games, man, unless you're putting them in your collection, and you want to buy them again, I can understand why, but there's some games like Mega Man X3, for example, for the Super Nintendo. You're not going to buy that game again. If you do decide to buy it, you're probably going to go on the internet and, you'll probably buy it off the virtual console, or you'll probably just get the ROM, because the thing is, that game goes for an expensive amount of money. But I've still got mine. I still got my copy of Mega Man X3 for the Super Nintendo, and man, that game is that is literally the most expensive game I own. But I got lucky on mine. I think I spent like $270 or something like that on it. It's like, jeez, man. I had a friend, I bargained for him, helped him out with him, and bartered with him, sorry. And eventually he paid me like money for work and for doing translations for him. And then I bought it for myself, so I just thought that'd be pretty cool, because that game is actually very, very amazing. Especially for a Super Nintendo game. Yeah. But anyways, but that's what I'm saying though, but in this day and age, people, they buy discs and they might not release the game because the data might, or maybe it doesn't fit on the disc. That's why you need an external hard drive. And I can understand that. But again, like I'm saying though, if you're going to buy a game, and I mean, I'm just talking about physical copies at this point, and they're going to patch a game, it shouldn't be the whole game that you have to re-download. It should be just whatever the content is that you patched, is what I'm saying. And I know some people say, well, that's usually how it is. And that's good, at least, because again, I've seen some people, like, they would apply it to the game. And I mean, unless you're going on the internet to re-download it from a ROM website or something like that, and it's the game itself with all the updates, that I can understand. But what I'm saying, though, is if it's coming from the actual game designers, and they're saying, well, we're just going to re-release the game with the patch, not to get confused with the digital downloads that you're paying for downloading. But I'm just talking about a game you buy, and then you go to, play it, and again, all the patching that they did, well, it should just be the content that they patched, and that should be the case. Because again, there's more than one way to do it. But that's probably the easiest way, so that way it doesn't eat up all the people's hard drives. But then again, I could be wrong. Maybe there's more to it. Again, it really depends. There's multiple ways to do stuff. I mean, there's an infinite number of ways to do stuff, and there's an infinite number of results you can get too. So, it's like infinite quality over and infinite quantity equals infinite possibilities. So that's essentially what I'm getting at here. Time and effort. Quality, like quantity means time in this case, and quantity would mean time in this case, and quantity would mean how much effort was put into it. Or no, like quality. Yeah, quality would be how much effort was put into it, and quantity would be how much time was put into it. If you can kind of understand where I'm coming from with this, it's I guess what I'm saying is, if you're going to make a patch for a game, just make sure it's just the content that you're patching, that you're making a patch for, and release that patch. Some people, they like to update a game, and they sometimes re-upload the whole game instead with the patch. Again, I mean, if this is coming just from the game designer's point of view, if you already download the game, if you already bought the game, then again, just upload patches of what you already have. Then, and then that's it. Unless you want to upload the game like somewhere else where it's the game with the patches, then that's understandable. But again, if you're going to upload it like on Steam or upload it on, or PSN and all that, that'd probably be a good idea. Unless you want people paying for the game itself, then that's what you'd go for. But just not to get confused, because again, if somebody goes out and buys a game and then they find that they have to download a patch for a game, it might very well be possible that sometimes they might be downloading the game itself with the patch included. I think there was a few examples of this. So it's not really as common as people will think. But again, the way Sony goes about doing it, they always release the concept. I think Nintendo even does it too. But they'll release the patch. If there's a patch for a game, it's always going to be like what they fixed in the game, what they changed. So hopefully that's how it should be, is what I'm saying. But again, anyways, it's possible to take a file, patch it, and then upload the whole thing too. So, but that's a different story though. So again, if you're confused, not to sound like I'm repeating myself, but again, glitches and people should catch these things, and if they don't, then well, they shouldn't be big major patch updates. They should just be the glitch fixed, and that's it. Or if there's more content, that's understandable, but But again, we're talking like as technology gets better, we're already up to like external, internal hard drives. So you can have like external hard drives that are like, I could go to Best Buy right now and buy, and I mean, this is a really good deal. You could get a 4 terabyte hard drive, external hard drive, for about $90. Right around, I mean, about a few years ago, again, I was paying maybe $90 for 2 terabytes, which for me, that's a lot of memory actually. But, eventually it gets used up, got to go back to the store and get another one. But, it's cool to know that technology exists. You can back up your stuff, I think that's really cool. Because some people say they don't work sometimes, but I'll be honest, I've never had an issue with them. I always take care of them. I make sure that, I'll be honest, I even keep the same box that it goes in. I just put it back in the little sticker pack and all that. And it works, I don't know, like, I just like taking care of my stuff, especially if you spend like almost $100 on something. It's like, things only last as long as they do, yes, but, they could last your whole lifetime, though, if you take care of them, though. So, I mean, at least that's what I'm seeing anyway. So again, people should do the same thing with their software and hardware. If you're going to make something, again, like, I don't care if it's a console, I don't care if it's a computer, again, custom tower in this case, if you want more use out of something, give more people reasons to play it. If people release a really long game and there's like everything's patched and everything's ready to go, then I mean, hey, you got yourself a, somebody took a lot of time to figure that out, but but that's how it should be, though. If you're going to release a game, like, again, when you go on YouTube and like watch people like Jim Sterling, and then they talk about games that exist and like what you're getting for it, or even worse, like if you're paying for it and it's not a game that's really worth that price, then some people might have speculation about buying it because they're afraid that maybe this game's not worth that much money, even though some people are asking that price for it. You kind of see what I'm saying. Steam Greenlight, when it was still going on, I'm not sure if they canned it or if they just changed it. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. But when they got rid of it, again, Valve did, they stated that, they want people to make their games so they can make money. But, like, there's people that they'll just release bad games and they don't test them enough. Like glitches, there's later patches. Or maybe they don't patch it. Maybe that's the whole reason they release them for money, because it's like shovelware in exchange for money. But eventually people want their refunds, and people can't get away with that like they used to, because now it's not like really a monopolization, So again, that's why patches and glitches should be taken seriously. Again, because why do patches and glitches exist? This will be me wrapping this up now, because they are second chances, to go back and patch something and re-release it, instead of it being like on a cartridge. I mean, unless of course you could download it digitally too. Like, again, even Nintendo, they might use cartridges, for example, or even when Sony was using, cartridges for your PlayStation Vita, for example, which is weird. I was surprised it was using not discs, even though there was internal memory and all that. But, I mean, I don't know. I always forgot that. Like, sometimes I'd be thinking, like, oh, yeah, the PS Vita, it had, I was thinking it used discs. And I was like, no, wait, it actually used cartridges. But anyways, what I'm saying is this, if you're going to buy a game for whatever price, in however it's going to go, like whatever the case is, pun intended, just make sure that everything's there, because the more effort you put into something before you release it, the better chance you have of that series being good, because you're looking at the problems. And again, you should really play test it, because again, if especially in video games, you should definitely test your products out, because again, they take a while to make, it takes a while for things to go the way they should. But it's like, that's how you do it, though. If you want something done, you got to earn it. But at the same time, though, you shouldn't take advantage of people just because you can. No, you should release a game that people are going to want to play, not just based on sales records, but based on like the effort. Because again, the more effort you put into something, the better it's going to be, and you'll probably catch all these problems. You know, again, you really have to have a compassion for video games. And again, I know people want to make money off it. And again, the more money you spend, it seems like, you know, the harder you're going to have to try to make profits on it. But it's like, again, you know, I tell you right now, you know, like take like somebody like Activision. You know, what was one of the major reasons why people would always complain about some of their games being like, you know, you'd have patches, you'd have glitches. It just ruined the experience for some people. Yeah, maybe some glitches might be hilarious and people can enjoy them. But if people don't fix their products ahead of time, it might actually affect the way people buy your stuff. So again, quality over quantity is better than quantity over quality. How many numbers can we sell, even if they're shitty products, instead of taking our time and making a good game and then trying to, you know, make money that way. Release a really good product and see how many good copies we can sell. You know what I mean? Because that will always be better in the end than terrible ideas. You know, people want to make money, yes, but people should do it honestly. They shouldn't be lying to people. And when you think about it, that's the problem with the video game industry. People are always trying to do stupid things. People always are trying to rush games, release them. They're obviously not finished. And people think it's still worth $6. And microtransactions, and DLC, and seasons passes, and pay to play, and you know what I mean? It's you know, we don't need these things, you know? It's all just suppressed technology for the most part. And I want you to think about that. Because the more people take their time with something, the better product it'll be in the end. But I don't know. That's just how it is. So again, comment, rate, subscribe, favorite, share this video. What do you guys think about this? And do you think you can see it? Do you think people will take their pride more seriously in the video game industry many years later from now, when they really realize that so many people are fed up with this? Or do you think that people will just complain about it, but it will still never change because people will still buy it for whatever reason? Just enough that like companies like Activision and EA could still release a game, even if they didn't want to finish it, and people would still, you know, they'd still make profits on it. Like, what do you guys think?